Hello, this is Christian Idealism, and today I'm going to be talking about my experience at the traditional Latin Mass. So, a group of friends of mine, um, if you all know, I go to the Newman Center. So, I don't know if you know what that is. It's a center for college students. And I met some people there that are big about the traditional Latin Mass. And so, I've never gone to a traditional Latin Mass before. If you guys don't know what that is, it's basically like the Mass before um, the Second Vatican Council. So today we have what's called the Novus Ordo Mass, whereas before Vatican II, um, every Mass was basically the Latin Mass, right? So there's a few, I guess, big distinctions between them. So number one is like Novus Ordo, people speak their native language, whereas in traditional Latin Mass, you speak Latin. Another thing is that traditional Latin Mass is typically much longer than Novus Ordo, so it's much longer Mass. Another thing is you can't receive on the hand, so you can't receive the Eucharist on the hand when you go to traditional Latin Mass, which is another big distinction between them. Another thing is that the priest will face the altar the whole time and not the audience when it comes to traditional Latin Mass. So that's another distinction. If you're aware, just look up like the main distinctions between traditional Latin Mass and Novus Ordo. So, but I want to talk today about my experience at traditional Latin Mass because it was the first time that I'd gone. Um, so I can't say that I loved it, but I also can't say that I hated it. I think that I need to go a few more times to really get the experience, or at least to really appreciate it. Um, and then I can make any like kind of final judgments about the traditional Latin Mass. Um, I know some people that have gone to traditional Latin Mass a lot, and their faith deepens greatly. Whereas others, it's a little bit different. So for me, I'm not in either camp. So I don't think traditional Latin Mass is better, objectively speaking, but I also don't think it's worse than the Novus Ordo Mass. So yeah, I'm gonna keep going a few more times, just so I can get the full kind of experience, so I can make a kind of final judgment on should I keep going to Novus Ordo or should I not. Um, that's because I'm interested in the debate on that, whether it's actually um, which one's better, like for souls, basically. Now, I'm gonna go back to that because I do have a very very strong stance when it comes to those people that don't think that Novus Ordo is even valid. So basically, those that think that Novus Ordo is objectively bad for souls. Um, so I'll get to that in a moment. But I can say that my experience at the traditional MS was fairly okay. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. Um, and I'm gonna have to go a few more times before I can truly get the full experience. And like the people that I went with, they even told me like, yeah, that the one that I went to, the one that we went to together, that was like not. That was probably like they told me it was like the worst high mass they've ever been to. Um, and of course, for me, that was like my first time going, so I was like, okay, well, maybe maybe I should go again a few more times so I can um, truly understand the experience, right? And I think that if people want to, so this is my opinion. Okay, so now we're gonna get into um, TLM and like whether Novus Ordo is valid. So if you think that Novus Ordo is valid, you just don't think that like if you think it's valid, but you just don't like going because you like the traditional Latin mass better, that's fine. I don't have a problem with those people. I don't have a problem with people that want to go to traditional Latin mass because they think it's better for them to go, or because they think that there's less liturgical abuses in the traditional Latin mass. Because I think we can all agree with that. I think we can all agree that Novus Ordo has opened the floodgates to a wide range of different liturgical abuses. We don't disagree on that. We all agree that liturgical abuses are a bad thing. We all agree that liturgical abuses haven't really been an issue until Novus Ordo came around. My problem is when people say that Novus Ordo is invalid. That's where I have my problem. And here's why. if you're going to say that Novus Ordo is bad, objectively bad, not just bad in the sense of, like, I'm not talking about those people that think, oh, well, I don't like going to Novus Ordo because I think it can lead to liturgical abuses, or I think that traditional Latin Mass is more beautiful. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the people that literally think that Novus Ordo is invalid, either invalid or that it is objectively bad for souls to go. That it's a mortal sin for souls to go to the Novus Ordo Mass. I think if you think that, if you believe that the Novus Ordo Mass is objectively bad, then you shouldn't be a Catholic. Then you should just stop going to. You should just stop practicing the faith. Now, the reason why I say that is because if you believe that the magisterium, that the church, that the Catholic Church objectively gives out things that are objectively bad for souls, then you shouldn't be a Catholic. You should go elsewhere. You should, like, I don't know. You just shouldn't go to mass at all at that point. And the reason why is because what you're doing is you're basically concluding that Jesus is Christ's church, so the church that he found failed. That the church that Jesus Christ found failed his mission. And that now Jesus Christ's church is actually, like, objectively sending souls to hell. Again, that's only if you believe that, like, it's objectively bad, that the Novus Ordo is either invalid or, like, objectively bad for souls. Like, if you really believe that, then you just shouldn't, like, be a Catholic. You should leave the Catholic Church immediately, because then you're gonna have to believe that the Catholic Church literally is doing bad things to souls. Not bad things in the moral sense. So I'm not talking about, like, clerical abuses or anything like that. We can all agree to that. What I'm talking about is if you believe that the church is doing objectively bad things to the salvation of souls, you shouldn't be a Catholic at all. You should just stop going. Um, and that's all I have to say on that. Because I've thought about this for a while. I've thought about, even before I became Catholic, I never really took the the radical traditionalists very seriously, because they typically don't think through the logical consequences of their own views. And so, if you believe that the Novus Ordo is invalid, then you shouldn't be a Catholic. And this also applies to any other groups. Like, for example, if you believe that Pope Francis is an anti-pope, that he's not a true pope, then you shouldn't be a Catholic. If you believe that that there hasn't been a valid pope since the 1950s, as the Segnativists believe, I believe that's how you pronounce them. If you believe that view, then you shouldn't be a Catholic. You should look elsewhere. Because logically speaking, all those views, all those, like, radical traditionalist views, logically lead to the conclusion not only that Jesus Christ failed, but that his church is doing objectively bad things in the salvation sense, not objectively bad things in terms of, like, sexual abuse scandals, but rather objectively bad things in terms of souls being damned to hell. I know people may think that's a very strong opinion, Kyle, but trust me, I've thought about this for quite some time. I'm just not really public about it, but I'm going to be public about it now. If you are a radical traditionalist, you should just stop being a Catholic. And that's all I have to say.